session on sustainable consumption and production and the tourism program. We have here two prominent speakers right at the beginning, to be followed by experts from different areas of the tourism sector and the environmental sector. To understand this clearly, yesterday these experts were meeting on the 10 YFP, on the 10 years framework of programs, Sustainable Tourism Program, to discuss its program of work, and we use this opportunity today here at FITUR to take the discussion public. So I introduce now Mr. Álvaro Carrillo de Albornoz. He's the Director General of the Instituto Tecnológico Hotelero. Álvaro, por favor.
Thank you very much, Dirk. Good morning to everyone. Dear Matthew, dear members of the WTO, ministers and attendants to FITUR, welcome to Madrid. And I just only would like to send some messages from ITH point of view towards sustainability. Now we are celebrating the 6th program of FiturGreen, hand by hand with WTO and FITUR. And the focus we always try to approach to FiturGreen and to sustainability is the focus from the companies, from the private sector. It's quite funny, even funny to understand which is the point of view from a private company towards sustainability, because they always look for money. They just, first of all, when you talk about sustainability, they think about cost efficiency, energy efficiency, and you have to begin to talk with them about these issues. You have to talk about euros, dollars, and once they realize they can save money with sustainability, you have to talk to them, but wait, because people, the tourists, which is at the end the one who's moving everything in the tourist sector, persons, people moving from one country to another country just to have another experience, they're getting aware of what sustainability is, and they are asking for destinations, for private companies to be more sustainable. From our point of view, the second message is, first of all, you can save a lot of money, but you can use these actions you are taking into the energy efficiency sector to sell your company, to sell your destination as a sustainable destination. And year by year, we realize that people that begin doing small things on the sustainable sector, they move forward because they realize they can use it even in the marketing departments of their companies. And afterwards, we have to realize, well, you've been doing things in the sustainable sector for a long time. You are saving money. You are using it just to sell your destination. So why don't you realize that sustainable is a value you have to incorporate into your company? Because otherwise, if we were talking about tourism sector, this can grow a lot in the future, but it has to grow in a proper way. It has to be a sustainable tourism. Otherwise, it won't be in the future, because we cannot allow in the Western countries to trying to keep and to grow a sector which is not sustainable anymore in the future. So I just ask you to enjoy this meeting this morning, and also in the program you already have in the seats, and try to think that there's a lot of things to do in the tourist sector in a sustainable way, and trying to move forward in the same way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Álvaro, very much for these opening remarks. And now, without delay, to Mr. Márcio Favila de Paula, the Executive Director for the Operational Programs and Institutional Relations at WTO.
Thank you, Dirk. Good morning to all. Dear Álvaro Carrillo, Managing Director of the Instituto Tecnológico Hotelero. I would also like to take the opportunity to greet Mr. Charles Arden Clark, who is the acting head of the 10 YFP Secretariat, with whom we have been working hand in hand to get our sustainable tourism program started and going. I would also like to greet all the members of the multi-stakeholder advisory committee of our program of sustainable tourism who are here. They came yesterday to our first meeting to first in-person meeting and are here today with this open meeting so that the public, the audience and interested people, stakeholders can also hear directly from them what their perspectives on the program are, and you understand better what we are planning to do. So Mr. Arden Clark will be the keynote speaker following, and then you will hear from other members, and I would like to also highlight the presence of one of our colleagues here from Morocco is the Director General of the Ministry of Tourism of Morocco, Madame Nada Roudias, and we have from the French colleagues are here. Yes, okay. Mr. Lupil, yes, welcome again. It's a pleasure to have you with us. So, dear friends, our program on sustainable tourism of the 10YFP is one of the 6 programs set at the Rio Plus 20 conference. Actually, 5 were set at that moment. Now there are 6 programs. And at that moment, the heads of state from around the world that came to Brazil at that moment reiterated that fundamental change in the way societies consume and produce are indispensable for achieving global sustainable development. That was the outcome document of the Rio Plus 20 conference. I would like to highlight was a very important one for not only for the international community, but specifically for our sector, for tourism, because for the first time in a major UN conference, sustainable tourism, as it was called there in the outcome document, was one of the thematic areas and cross-sectoral issues defined to be looked at carefully by the international community in the years to come. And in that document, the 10-year framework of program was created, and this program, the specific program on sustainable tourism, was also derives from there. Now we have been working with our colleagues from UNEP, from the 10YFP Secretariat since then, and we finally officially launched the program last November at WTM in London. We want to make sure in our discussions that the message that we are talking about the importance to harness the power of the 1 billion people that travel around the world on a responsible way is conveyed to everyone. Now, I would like to say that the vision of the Sustainable Tourism Program for a tourism sector that has globally adopted sustainable consumption and production practices, resulting in enhanced environmental and social outcomes and improved economic performance, is there, must be there. Now, as you know, and yesterday our Secretary General Taleb Rifai announced, we reached in 2014 1,138 million international arrivals. 1,138 million international arrivals. Now, we have to remember that people around the world travel domestically as well. So domestically, there are about 6 billion trips annually as well. So we are talking about more than 1 billion international trips as defined as a tourism trip, which means that somebody that leaves their usual environment and goes to another place and stays overnight, at least one night away, for leisure, for business, for visiting friends and relatives. So this if we look at both international arrivals and domestic arrivals, we can see how strong tourism has become as a force in the world today, and we want tourism to be a force for good. In our projections, there's 1.1 billion international arrivals of today. We'll reach 1.4 billion by 2020 and 1.8 billion by 2030. So how can we make sure that this traveling around the world and the domestic trips are made on a sustainable way? How can we make sure that this program, sustainable tourism program within the 10YFP, can enhance the production and consumption patterns, can make them advance, can really contribute so that tourism really continues to grow, but generating more and more benefits to the local communities, to countries visited, and the natural and cultural resources that are used to develop tourism are maintained, are better when visited by tourism and not depleted when visited by tourists. So we have an ambition vision for the sustainable tourism program within the 10YFP. And, but not only our program, Charles will talk to you about the other ones. He may want to mention the other ones. You will see that the whole 10YFP is ambitious, and it has to be ambitious. The Rio Plus 20 document that I mentioned before is for not only for developing countries but also for developed countries. The principles are there for all countries around the world, and we are very happy that, and it's only natural that the 10YFP program now is there in the final draft document for the Sustainable Development Goals. So that is another very, very important political milestone in this process. As you may know, the SDGs will be approved this year in the second semester by the UN General Assembly. And differently from the MDGs, the Millennium Development Goals that catered mostly for developing countries, the SDGs are looking at all countries, advanced and developing countries altogether. Well, I'm sorry for this. Really sorry for this. So the SDGs are are universal, inclusive, and the 10YFP the 10YFP program has to be seen in that context, and they have to be ambitious. They are ambitious, the programs, and that's the way we look at the Sustainable Tourism Program as well. So it's only reconforting for us to have the private sector joining us hand in hand in the development of the 10YFP program on the Sustainable Tourism program. And we are really counting on the private sector. We have organizations with us in the multi-stakeholder committee, advisory committee from the private sector. We have several governments, and our partners, the large group of partners that we have also has a very important presence from the private sector as well. So as we move ahead, it's only natural that we are here at Fitur, having this meeting here as the first one within the program of FiturGreen, which we have been developing with our friends from Fitur in the last 6 years, and we are very happy to have the Instituto Tecnológico Hotelero with us as one of the organizers here today. So I wish you good Fitur and great discussions along the day around our program of sustainable tourism within the 10YFP. Thank you very much.